Hey folks, welcome back. So we are now going to look at the consolidated statement of financial position. Say that several times fast and you will impress everyone. What we are looking for is we're going to double check our 2023 numbers, but especially we're going to enter in the 2024 numbers to be able to know that we are looking at the right one. So I'm going to switch over to my spreadsheet here. We're looking at 2024, looking for our current assets. And in order to make this legible on the screen, I actually hid the second column. The B column is really useful for this. When I was doing it myself, I was like, oh, that was the confirmation that it's a notes column and it tells you this is what you're looking for. So in this, we're going to look at our net financial assets. That's this number here. Is that right?
So yeah, so this is again one of those examples between Canadian and American naming conventions that are a bit different. So in Canada, what we're looking for here are financial assets, right? So we just want to look at this section that says financial assets in a report called Consolidated Statement of Financial Position. In the US, it's just a statement of net position.
Mhm.
But yeah, in Canada, we're looking for financial assets. So you see it's a nice little total there at the bottom. In 2024 is 406,734,901. That's the number we're looking for.
Oh, right.
And
Yes.
yeah,
Mhm.
so in the US, so that's the total of the financial assets. In the US, it'll be something called current and other assets. Same kind of idea, just a different name, but it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, because this is taking the one and then contrasting with the other and then coming up with a number. So we're going to
Mhm.
drop that into our top one here, current assets,
Mhm.
capital assets.
Yeah. So
You'll
again,
find this.
the capital assets is what it would be called in the US. In Canada, we're looking for non-financial assets. So that's at the bottom. It's in the same report in both Canada and the US. So
Yep.
at the bottom here, we're looking at the total of our non-financial assets, which you'll see here is almost all tangible capital assets, which is capital assets, like we said, the same. But yeah, you can add up those other numbers in there. Some cities add this all up for you. Delta here has not. But yeah,
Thanks, Delta. I pay
yeah,
taxes and I still don't get service. No, just kidding.
yeah,
1011 seven
yeah.
four four 1514
And
545.
and
Oh,
we can
shoot.
see and we can see like the scale of these numbers here, like the inventories and the prepaids and the other assets are so small compared to the capital assets that they really won't affect the trends anyways. But just for completeness, we wanna include them. Again, like I said, in the US, it really is separated into capital and current,
Yeah.
and that's good enough. And so in Canada, financial and non-financial.
All right. So I've done the math
Mhm.
and there's our capital assets.
Yeah, and
So we've got our current.
we can see that they're like kind of on a trend line with 2023. So that's how you know you're like, okay, this is pretty close.
Yeah, right. There's some of
Because
those
if you
internal checks that we can use as
yeah,
we
because
look
you
at
come up
it.
with a number that's like completely off from the prior year or the next year, you'd be like, oh, wait a minute, did I do something wrong here? That's the first thing you check.
Yep.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. So the next one we're going to look for is I want to update the liabilities.
hmm So yeah,
So,
so again, we just want the total liabilities. So here in Canada, they always add it up for you. It's right at the bottom there, 184 odd million. That's the number you want. In the US, again, it'll also be called liabilities. They so you'll just take that total number, drop it in there. You'll notice there's like two sort of grayed outlines here on the Canadian version, deferred
hmm,
outflows and deferred inflows. Those are reporting measures that don't exist in Canada. So it'll be blank in Canada. You won't even find those
yeah.
terms. But in the US, those will be on the same page as where we just grab these other three numbers. Just plop them in.
Yep.
They're just a single number. Plop them in there, and then you're done for that section.
And I can ignore the blue columns. So I'm on to my next column.
Yeah,
Let's,
the blue rows are yeah, those are totals, so we
yeah,
just leave them.
let's look for revenues.
Yeah, so revenues is both in the US and in Canada, it's going to be on the very next page. From wherever you were before, it's going to be the very next report. On the very next page, you'll be able to find your total revenues, right?
And I'll say like I felt this like little bit of glee as I was like, it's right there. I can't believe it. It's right there. Like I expected. I was like, oh, that first part was too easy. This is gonna be rough.
Yeah.
But sure, it's and I'm looking for this big number here. I did when I did it for 2012, I removed the government transfers, and then I was like, no, I think the government transfers have to stay, but I'm just gonna re-report that later. Is that correct?
Yeah, you would leave it in there as
Because
part
it
of the
is
total
incoming money.
revenues.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we'll deal with that when we get to it later. But yeah, just put the total revenue in there.
Okay.
Same in the US, total revenue is there should be a total. You include that.
What would other be?
This is on the Canadian one. I generally just ignore it. It's not really necessary. It'll also almost always be just a kind of an insignificant number in the scale of it.
Yeah.
I just include everything in total revenue. So you put that in there. In the US, there's like two other lines, the operating grants and the capital grants, which we call in Canada government transfers,
Right.
and government transfers related to capital. So that's just that next section. So that's going to come out again just from that same page generally.
Ooh, I feel like there's a difference in emphasis between transfers and grants. I feel like the
Yeah,
one ironically sounds more royal, and yet
yeah,
it's
yeah. Well, one sounds more like a gift. The other one sounds more
yeah,
like you're owed it, right? Like a
yeah,
transfer sounds like you. Oh, this is ours. You owe it to us. So
that's right. So we are government transfers is my next column that I'm looking for here.
yeah,
And and maybe just a quick note, if you're in a Canadian city, I think in Edmonton it may be that under other revenues, the utility, for example, in Edmonton and Medicine Hat, they have
yeah,
their gas utilities that actually generate windfall for the city each year. And I think that that might have been split out. And that is definitely the spot that you would be putting that in, because you want to understand where is the heft that your community is living on, or the windfall that each year comes in, where is that going? So
yeah. If it
um
doesn't appear in your total on the statements, absolutely include an other. But if they have an other and then it's still included in the total, you don't have to. You shouldn't
yeah,
put it in twice. Yeah,
yeah. Let's also look government transfers related to capital. I
yeah.
don't see that in my account, in my reporting here, and I noticed that past years when we filled this out didn't include that. Is
So
that a rare thing?
So generally it'll show up lower down on this report, which is kind of a weird thing.
Okay.
Um, and so it's not there. So either you're not reporting it separately for your city, or you just didn't get any capital grants, which is in the past in those 2 years,
Okay.
right? It's
Yeah.
possible that and so it doesn't like we don't need to separate them out. We just want to know what the total amount is. We have them separated out on the finance decoder just to as much as possible avoid having people to do their own math. That they can
Yeah.
just put the numbers in directly from one sheet to the next without having to do calculating calculations. That's why it's there separately. Your city might report it as one number, and it looks like it is. So it's all good. So if it's not in there, it would be on that same page. It doesn't look like it's there. It's fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
All right, man, we're almost on the home stretch.
Yeah.
Let's look. So as I'm updating the 2024 numbers, I want to look at
Yeah.
interest charges and take note of this, that there's a dash there, which I'm
Hmm.
assuming was incomplete information from 2023. So we should be able to find that info in this round. And then the 2024 numbers as well. But you were also going to say something.
Well, it could be incomplete, or it could be that you have no debt, which is
We
a
did
rare,
retire a bunch of debt, but
a
and I
rare.
know that
Yeah.
Delta's like stance was always to avoid taking on debt. But
Hmm.
then through a referendum, the folks in North
Hmm.
Delta had actually approved that
Hmm.
they would undertake basically the commitment to repay it over 20 years or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Ironically, they've subsequently had to do more maintenance on the facility and even updates, and
Mm.
that
Yeah.
they were less interested in doing another round of fundraising for in the form of yearly
Yeah.
taxes.
Yeah. Yeah,
All right.
so this number will be on the same that same report where we took our revenue, right? So you already went too far. So here we go. Yeah, under that expenses generally is where we'll find interest expenses depending on how it's reported. So in the US, it'll almost always be on this same report. In Canada, it'll
I
depend how
found
you
it
report it.
later. Yeah.
So yeah, in Canada, some cities also have a separate report later on called expenses by object, and
Okay.
that'll break out your interest in that one. And so if you do a search within, if as long as
Right.
it's a digital document, you can search for expenses by object, and it'll give you your interest amount. But like
So
I said, in the US, it'll almost always be on that same report. In Canada, it'll often be on that same report. But if it
yeah.
isn't, just look for expenses by object, and you'll be able to find that. Yeah. So sometimes be called interest. Sometimes they'll call it debt
Oh, here,
service.
or interest earned. Well, that's good. Um,
Yeah, that's not uncommon. Yeah.
right. Huh.
Yeah. So again, you may have paid off your debt because I'm looking at like when we saw your
Right.
other amounts, it was kind of a declining amount over the years there. And so it went to zero. It might still be zero. Super rare,
Yeah.
but
I'm going
that
to
is,
insert a note.
yeah. Because you can see it was at 143,000, 111,000, 22,900, right? It's getting
Yeah.
lower. Then it went to zero. So it's possible that you've paid off your long-term debt. It is but a rare occurrence, but it happens.
Let's see if it shows up in the news. Delta's debt is almost gone.
That
Oh, that
was
was
in 2014.
2014. Well, we're still a pretty good place to live. Okay, that's good. It might be one of those things. I know that that was definitely one of the goals that they had, but
Mhm.
before we go into the history of Delta politics,
Yeah, yeah.
let's look at our total capital assets. So I'm gonna have to pull up our. Nope. Okay, so we're back at the start. So we're gonna scroll to here. Nope. We need
Uh,
total capital assets.
so yeah, that was that report in the notes, right? So this will be in
Yep.
the notes both in the American version and in the Canadian version. You're looking for tangible capital assets or capital assets, a statement of capital assets or statement of net or of tangible capital assets is what we're looking for. It's in the notes section. And so I think in this one was note 15 was TCA if I saw it correctly. Yeah, okay. So see, so this is note 21, note 20. So keep,
Oh, I see.
yeah, notes to this financial statements. Now it's 15 this year in Delta. Doesn't mean it's 15 for everybody every
Right.
year.
Oh, here
Uh,
we go.
but once you find it in 1 year, if it's note 15 in 1 year, it'll be pretty close to that in the other
Yeah.
years. Like the statements are really similar from year to year. So if
Yeah. Or
you
section
know,
15. Yeah.
yeah, so if it's not note
Yeah.
15 1 year, it might be 14 or 16 or 13. It might be close, but like it'll be approximately in the same place for all of these reports. So if you find it, even down to the page number would be pretty close, right? If
Yeah.
something's on page 31 1 year, it'll be somewhere around there the next year, right?
Yeah.
So because the statements are generally pretty similar from year to year. So
Yeah.
this sorry, so note 14, right? Tangible capital assets is note 14. So it starts
Okay.
on the
So
front.
that's, I'm
So
grabbing this
well,
2024 number.
it starts on the prior page.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So
So
what
I,
so what we're looking for is we're looking for our net book value, we're looking for our total cost. In Canada, this report is always way simpler than in the US. So in
hmm.
the like at 2024 total cost, that's the $1.6 billion. That's the number you want to put in as your total cost.
Yeah. 1.6.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
So
that's
put
my
that in.
net book total
Uh,
or total cost.
that's your total cost. Yeah.
Okay.
So you put that one
Which
in.
squares. So I'm doing also that
Yeah.
check to just be like, does this look similar to what we had?
Yeah.
That's good.
And
And
I
then
mean,
the
it could
other,
jump. Yeah, it could
yep.
jump depending if you had a major infrastructure
Right.
project. But yeah, generally you want
Yeah.
to, there'll be general trends, right? So now we
And now
want
we're looking for our net book value of our total capital assets. That would be this one here, right?
exactly, right?
Awesome.
So you saw how easy that was, right? That's Canadian statements. They do all
Yeah.
the totals for you. It's super easy. In the US, they will generally break it down into government assets and business assets so that you'll have to like add those together. And within those they'll break them down into not being depreciated and being depreciated. So you need those numbers as well. Um, in the finance decoder, we've put a separate line for all those, so you don't have to add them up. You just have to find that number and put
Yeah.
them in. It is a lot more work, and it is a lot like easier to get lost in
Hmm.
what you're doing because yeah, there are no totals anywhere really, so it's a lot more work on the American version.
Yeah.
But yeah, Canadian version super straightforward as you saw.
So what's interesting is I'm feeling a little rattled because the 2013 numbers that I did this morning,
Hmm.
um, the reporting was actually easier. It was there. It just like kept like dropping into my lap, and I was like,
Yeah,
there it is, there it is, there it is. And then 2024, it was just a little trickier, but we definitely got there. So at
I
this
mean, we
point,
are we are outside of the groove too, right? We're pausing to discuss and
yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
But once you
yeah,
once you get into a groove, you'll find that like once you've done 1 year, it'll be about the same place as the next year and the
Yeah.
next year and the next year. So
Yeah.
you'll get into this groove where the numbers will just find you.
Yes, that's right. So now is it time for the payoff? Can we look at the graphs?
Are there more numbers? That's it, eh? We're at the end of the numbers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now we look. Now we
All
can
right.
look at the graphs.
So now we look at the results. Here, let me hide that and I'll full screen. All right, so we're looking at first our sustainability indicators. And actually, let's record this as a quick little separate thing as a quick run through. So if you're with
Hmm.
us, thanks for watching. Definitely catch this next one on what does this all mean? I mean, we've talked a lot about that, but we'll just go through some of the things that we can see with the Delta numbers or your Canadian city. We might come back to be able to also record something for US cities, but most of it rhymes or echoes much of what you've heard here already.